Hey, thanks for checking out the video. Before we get into it, and I promise I'm not going to talk your ear off, I just want to say I'm really going to try to give this a valiant go. I've already got a new deck tech ready for Thursday and every other Thursday after that. So you should consider sticking around if you like the vibe. Now, you better get to class. Uvilda is waiting for you. You better go. Like now.
Uvilda, Dean of Perfection, is a 3-mana 2/2 legendary creature Djinn wizard that reads tap. You may exile an instant sorcery card from your hand and put 3 hone counters on it. It gains at the beginning of your upkeep. If this card is exiled, remove a hone counter from it, and when the last hone counter is removed from this card, if it's exiled, you may cast it. It costs 4 less to cast this way. Now I know upon a first inspection, you're thinking, isn't this just a worse version of Suspend? And I can see why you're thinking that. But one thing that Hone has on Suspend is that we're not casting the spell for free. We're reducing the cost, which means we're going to be taking advantage of big old X spells. Let's get into it. In total, we're going to be running 11 X spells, ranging from big damage dealers like Crackle with Power, Bonfire of the Damned, and Banefire, to some more control pieces like Curse of the Swine, Stolen by the Fae, and Red Sun's Twilight, to some more fun, flashy spells like Finale Revelation, Drown in Dreams, Storm King's Thunder, or maybe even a big Electro Dominance. Now I know what you're thinking. Salt, Electro Dominance, doesn't even really work well with X spells. Why would we include that? Well, Uvilda is not restricted to only X spells. We're just flexing our muscles here. We are definitely going to be taking advantage of that 4-mana discount to cast some heavy-hitting big incident sorceries. Board wipes like All Is Dust and Flood of Tears suddenly go from 6 and 7 mana respectively to 3 colorless or just 2 blue. Brass's Bounty? Yeah, seems like it's going to be worth the value. However, our opponents need to really look out for spells like Temporal Mastery and Time Stretch, because once we take 1 extra turn, we're going to be getting an extra tick of our hone counters, and then an additional extra turn for an additional extra tick of our hone counters. Now, as fun and exciting as this all seems, one both up and downside of our hone is that it happens in front of all of our opponents, which means while we can make them sweat, we're also going to likely be drawing their ire. So, how are we going to defend against that? Let's get into it. Now, a benefit of hone is that we can threaten our opponents with looming targets. However, sometimes our opponents will call our bluff and want to take us out for it, so we have some backup plans in Propaganda and Dissipation Field. Do you really want to pay 2 mana or have your creature bounce back to hand just for hitting me? Plus, Dissipation Field dissuades any damage, not just combat. So it's a nice little neat effect to make sure you keep in mind when you have him play. Plus, Shark Typhoon will ensure our board state doesn't stay empty for long, as our big X spells will be rewarding us with big flying sharks. Please, come at my flying shark army. I dare you. However, as cool as a flying shark army is, it's not going to be enough to keep us alive. Fate Spinner, Bothersome Quasit, and Niblis of Frost are all unique fun pieces that I like to use to keep our opponents at bay. Bothersome Quasit sends things other directions, Niblis of Frost keeps it down, and Fate Spinner literally keeps them out. Plus, early game blockers like Crashing Drawbridge and Thing in the Ice provide us additional value throughout the game while also giving us a board presence. Crashing Drawbridge serves as a haste enabler for Uvilda that we're able to get out a turn before her, and Thing in the Ice provides us a late game reset if necessary. Now, enough of the simple defensive creatures. What about the fun, exciting ones? Well, I'm glad you asked. Now, the only thing more exciting than casting 1 big instant or sorcery spell is copying it. Creatures like Mizzix's Replica Rider, Jin-Gitaxi's Progress Tyrant, and Gandalf the Grey are all powerful and effective ways to allow us to duplicate these big X spells. Plus, Gandalf the Grey even gives us an option to untap our commander. In addition to them, we're running creatures that like cast triggers, like Archmage Emeritus for card draw, Urabrask for mana and ping, and I'm really excited to include Zephi, Thunder Conductor, a creature that I typically am not able to find a home in, but in a deck like this, where we're able to consistently cast big mana value spells, I think he's right at home. Zephi is a 4-mana 1/4 human shaman with Magecraft. Whenever we cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, scry 1. If that spell's mana value is 5 or greater, we make a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token, and if that spell's mana value is 10 or greater, he will deal 10 damage to an opponent chosen at random. Powerful, fun, and unlikely to eat a removal spell. If we're going to want to be consistently casting spells with mana value 10 or greater, we're going to need more than just Uvilda's discount to get there. First and foremost, it's going to be important to hit our land drops, so we're running a total of 38 lands to make sure we do so. In addition, we're also running some discount cards like Mind Splice Apparatus that we're able to flash out at our opponent's end step to then have an upkeep trigger before we do our hone, plus the modal double face Planeswalker of Rowan and Will. However, we're mostly playing this for the Rowan side, as we're just interested in getting that discount. With some of the cooler, flashier pieces now discussed, it's important that we take a moment now and discuss the deck's vegetables, or as they're better known, our card draw, interaction, and ramp package. Now admittedly, I do not want to sit here and go over Izzet removal spells. I'm sure if you pick your favorites, they will work just fine. However, I do want to talk about two in particular. Narset's Reversal and Dual Caster Mage, because they have the added flexibility of not only being able to answer our opponent's spells, but also the availability to double up on our big spells, and I think that's just pretty darn neat. Now aside from the aforementioned big X spells that allow us to draw, it's important that we have some low mana cantrips that ensure our hand stays full throughout the game. Faithless Looting, Ponder, and Expressive Iteration are personal favorites of mine, plus Dig Through Time, and the all-powerful Mystic Remora, Feed the Fish. And for our last bit of our veggies, Thought Vessel and Cursed Mirror make up important parts in which should be a rather traditional Izzet package. Yes, Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, good cards, you should include them. I shouldn't need to tell you that. Okay, let's keep it moving. Alright, and as we head into this last section, I just want to take some time to highlight some cards I otherwise failed to mention or forgot to talk about. First, starting with our lands, I really only want to discuss Boseiju, Who Shelters All, a colorless tapped land that lets us pay 2 life to add 1 mana to our mana pool. If that mana is spent to cast an instant sorcery spell, it can't be countered by spells or abilities. This land is extremely important to our strategy. One of the downsides of Hone is that it gives our opponents time to be ready for our spells, and maybe potentially try to counter them. Boseiju, Who Shelters All is a great answer for that problem. In addition, I'm running Cursed Recording, a high-risk, high-reward artifact that reads for 4 mana. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a time counter on the recording. Once there's 7 or more time counters on it, we remove those counters and it deals 20 damage to you. Yikes. I know, not the best, but let's keep reading. When we tap it, when we next cast our instant or sorcery spell this turn, we copy it, and we may choose new targets for the copy. This is not a deck where we're slinging out a bunch of small spells. We're typically going to be slinging out 1 or 2 big spells and trying to copy them. Curse Recording is a very effective way to do so. Yes, is it risky? But hey, I think it's a lot of fun, and I ain't no punk bitch. And lastly, what would all this great tutelage and honing your talents be without a proper mystical tutor? This obviously powerful instant will allow us to ensure that we have the right instant or sorcery spell to hone when we're ready to hone it. Hey, I hope you guys liked the video! Uvilda is a lot of fun. I think she's a commander that a lot of people just kind of ignored. And yes, there is a backside, but I literally never use the backside, so feel free to have that if you want it. But we're not discussing it. Uvilda is a strong, independent woman, and she stands on her own, okay? That being said, if you guys liked the video, you should really give it a like. That makes sense, seems logical, and maybe even subscribe. More deck techs on one of these sides of me. I haven't done this in a while, so we'll see which side it's on. And that's it. I'll see you guys Thursday for the next deck tech. Bye!